Hey everybody, Allison Gardner here, and I wanted to follow up on Tuesday's video and talk about why it is hard to let go of impossibly high standards and why it is hard to let go of old traditions or doing things that we've always done just because we've always done them. To start, why is it hard if our impossibly high standards are tearing us down and are making us feel like dirt, the dust of the earth? Why do we hold on to them so fiercely? And I'm gonna let you in on a little secret because I've been thinking through this. So every night before I go to bed, I write in my journal and I write down 10 things that I'm grateful for. I've been writing in my journal most of my life, and I have recently, for the past year, been writing down the things that I'm grateful for. Now you might be wondering, why would you do that? I do this because when you write down things that you're grateful for, it rewires your brain to see good things. And I don't know if you've noticed, but life in generally is easier if we are writing down the things that we're grateful for, and seeing the good and rewiring our brain to see the good, because it just makes life easier when you can have a bit more of a positive uptick in your thoughts. And so I definitely want to be doing this, and I definitely want to be helping my brain see the things that I'm grateful for. And so I've been doing this every night. And as I have been very exhausted and trying to figure out what things I can have leave my life so that I can not be so exhausted and that I can be more focused on the good and seeing the positive things in my life, I was wondering, could I write fewer things? Could I be more succinct in my journaling? What things can I move around? And the thought that keeps coming up for me, that terrifies me, is that once I give myself that leniency, once I give myself that ground, I'll never get it back. The whole give them an inch and they'll take a mile thing rings so true for me in my life, and is one of these things that I am so afraid of, because I'm afraid that if I give myself any ground, if I show myself any mercy, that I'll never get it back, that I'll never go back to doing what I should be doing. The dreaded should. So I'm gonna leave that there for just a minute, and I'll come back, I promise. And I'm gonna go to the traditions. Why are we so afraid of letting our traditions go? And it's actually the same thing. It is a fear that once we stop doing that tradition, that it will just leave our life entirely. And this fear actually makes a lot of sense, because we hear often that if we're not consistent, we hear often that if we don't stick to the mark and do things consistently and the way that they should be done, that they'll just sort of leave our life. And so that's the reason why I am concerned about the Christmas tree, because if we don't put a Christmas tree up this year, oh no, we might not do it next year, and then we'll never do it again. Yeah, I'm not taking myself completely seriously when I say that, but there is a voice in my head that says that. There is a voice in my head that says that if I'm not consistent, if I don't do those things that I feel are important, that I'll never do them again. But this is why it is actually so important to let those things go. And it's important because when we have that mindset, that cling on, hold on to mindset, we are living in fear. We are living in the past, that the past was better than the future could ever be. Okay, so what if we don't put up the Christmas tree? Okay, I have Christmas lights, which are my favorite part of Christmas anyway. So I still have my Christmas lights. I still have the joy of shopping and prepping gifts for my family. I'm so excited for my Christmas gifts this year. I can't tell you about them now because it's a surprise. But I wanted to do something that my family can have with them wherever they go. When we moved in September, I realized how much stuff we had, and that when you move, you have to determine, do I need this? Is it necessary? And do I really want to pack it in a box? Some things are necessary, yes, and so you gladly pack them in a box, and some things you don't want to do without, and so you also pack them in a box. But I would just invite you to think about what is it. Anyway, so I decided that I wanted to give them something that they didn't have to pack in a box, but I hope will still be meaningful. So I will tell you about that after Christmas. But so I still have things that make me happy. I still have things that jazz me up about the season. And so maybe it's okay to let that Christmas tree thing go. I realize it's not a big deal. I'm sentimental, and it's just a thing that I do at Christmas. And so it's hard for me to imagine it being gone. But it's things like that where can we find joy, meaningful joy in other ways that we don't have to do that tradition anymore? Or are there things that are important that are necessary to stay consistent, like prayer and scripture study, that do need to stay? And those other things, because they're important, it's okay to let them lie, and it's okay to let them be, and then bring them up again later when I'm in a place where I can invest in them again. And so I'd invite you to just think about those things. What are things you need in your life? What are things that are valuable, that are your backbone, that you can't let slide? And then what are things that are important because you've just always done them, or because you do find value in them? Because that second question is incredibly telling. Once you know the things that you do just because you find value in them, it's okay to let them be, because guess what, guys? They'll come back. Because they're important to you, you will naturally reach to them. And when we let go of that fear, when we let go and stop clinging to those things we have to do or we should do, we make space in our lives for the things that are truly important. So I invite you to take this challenge. What is it that you really need to keep you going? And what is it that you do because you should do it, or it just feels important? Because those are the things that eventually will come back when you need them to. Thank you for joining me. I'm very excited to follow up with you about what I'm doing for Christmas. And thank you for joining me today. Have a fantastic day, guys. Bye.